10% held by Hunter for the big guy. I wonder who the big guy was. The big guy. He doesn't look so big to me. He doesn't look so big when he walks on the stage. He's not looking too strong. Fragile, very fragile. They said, sir, we have a problem. What? Stampede. I said, stampede. He said, we got so many people, we're worried about it. I thought that was for cattle, right? He said, stampede. No, can you imagine? Now, Joe doesn't have that problem. He has about 4 or 5 circles. They can't fill him up. But I love the people. The only thing I like about him is the person that does the circles after this is all over. No, they do a beautiful job. Nice, wide, beautiful, everything. You know, I'm a perfectionist. It's beautiful, those circles. They're very far away from each other. You couldn't catch COVID in those circles no matter what you did. His so-called Biden Center at the University of Pennsylvania has already received $70 million from China. 70 million. That can't be possible. Is that possible? Explosive emails from Hunter Biden also show that Hunter was negotiating with a Chinese firm tied to the Communist China Party to receive $10 million a year for introductions. Well, that sounds reasonable. I think you'd do that. I think I'd even do it. 10 million to introduce. Hey, I'd like to introduce it. Send me the 10 million. Another email referenced 10% held by Hunter for the big guy. I wonder who the big guy was. The big guy. He doesn't look so big to me. He doesn't look so big when he walks on the stage. He's not looking too strong. Fragile, very fragile. And somebody said, sir, maybe this isn't good. President Obama's campaigning for Sleepy Joe Biden. And I said, that's good news or bad news? Tell me, are you saying it's good or it's bad? Well, I guess it's bad. No, it's good. There was nobody that campaigned harder for crooked Hillary Clinton than Obama, right? He was all over the place. He said he will not be our president. But before that, he said he will not run. He didn't know me. Then I ran. Then he said he will not get the nomination. Then I got the nomination. Then he said he will not be our president. Then I won. I think the only one more unhappy than crooked Hillary that night was Barack Hussein Obama. But they showed this field. Now, when I was speaking, it was full. But when they showed the field, it was all empty. I said, wait a minute, I was speaking, it was full. Well, they took the pictures about 5 or 6 hours early. They had everything roped off. And, I said to my people, we ought to sort of bring that up every once in a while. Oh, sir, nobody cares about it. I care about it. I care about it. No, they took the pictures way early. And when I was speaking, I'm looking at this thing all the way back. It was so beautiful. And then all of a sudden, we made the statement, I guess the largest audience, and I think it was the largest audience. And we suffered. That was the first week. This was just the beginning. This was just the beginning. But I had 12 doctors standing around my bed. And every one of them had a hand on a different part of my body. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it. But I didn't feel good. And they gave me what's called Regeneron, which is antibodies, very strong antibodies. And there's other, Eli Lilly makes something. I mean, it's incredible. What they're doing, by the way, what they're doing now is incredible. And I don't know, maybe it was great. Maybe it would have happened anyway. But I woke up the next morning and I felt like Superman. I felt like Superman, Regeneron. And I'm working to make the same antibody treatment that I received available to anybody that needs it free. We're getting it approved. Oh, there they are. 61 from North Carolina, some of the great women of the world. 61 times. Oh, look at you. And you have your husbands with you tonight. Look at you. Look at you. Good. Good. Now, I asked them last time, how many times have you gone? 61. Thank you. Thank you. I love you too.
yelling at a politician, "We love you." And you know why they love President Donald Trump? Because he's not a politician. He's not your typical politician, but he's a president for us, the grassroots. Well, we only have a certain amount of time left. Was it, let's see, about 13 days, 12 days left. And of course, today, joining me is none other than the National Director of Priests for Life, Father Frank Pavone. Father, welcome to Just Ask Janet.
Good to be here.
That's right. You know, our viewers have to know a little joke that, you know, when we originally started doing our program, Defending Life on EWTN, Father was the only person on the show. And then he gradually let me come in on the show. And then I used to tease Father, well, one day Janet's going to have her own show. So, well, thank you, all our streaming people out there. Now Janet has her own show. So welcome to my program, Father.
Right. Okay.
Well, we're going to be taking your questions throughout the program. And of course, Father, I thought I would show our viewers that I just got in the mail. I always vote absentee. And because sometimes, you know, before Corona, we would be on the road right up to Election Day. And I just thought you'd like to know a few things. First of all, there's something very interesting here. There's a QR code. And if you scan that, it says track the status of your ballot. Because some people are asking, you know, oh, what happens to my ballot? And this has we're in Florida, by the way. So this is what happens for absentee ballots in Florida. And here's another interesting sentence, Father. It says, should you decide to vote at your polling place on Election Day, instead of voting with the enclosed ballot, bring this entire ballot packet with you to expedite signing in at the polls. So that really answers a question, doesn't it, Father? People are a little concerned of, well, what if they mail in and then they show up too, right?
No, it's a good idea to do exactly that, to track the ballot. Everyone in their state should ask their Board of Elections, what do I have to do if I'm going to mail in my ballot, if I'm not going to bring it there in person?
Right.
What do I do to track it? What do I do to get confirmation that it got properly received and counted? That's this year especially, that's important to do.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is, you know, as you know, Father, I'm not going to mail it in. I'm going to fill it out, which I'm going to talk about what I did. And I'm actually going to bring it tomorrow to the Board of Elections right here in Titusville, and I'm going to hand it in person. Here's my ballot. But, you know, Father, here's the interesting thing. I have to tell everybody, you know, of course, obviously, I knew who I was voting for president and vice president. Like, I went straight down the Republican line. But then beyond that, there was like 7 amendments, and there were some other things like for judges and this and that. Do you know, Father, I really had to study. I went on websites. I made a few phone calls to different people because, you know, we're new residents to Florida. And I really found a lot of helpful information. Matter of fact, there was one website I went to, and it was for the local news here. And what they did was, Father, they put like the First Amendment, the wording. And then below that, they said, well, if you vote yes, this is what it means. If you vote no, this is what it means.
Right.
So then, because you know how sometimes the language of these amendments, they sounds a little confusing, and I'm not sure. So I really want to encourage everybody. I'm sure, you know, in your own state, you have different amendments. You have other positions there that are not Republican or Democrat. They're just people, you know, like we had a water commissioner here, and we have judges that we have to say they get reinstated or not. You know, and so I actually called someone here from the Brevard Republican Club, and I said, what's with the judges? What should we do?
Yeah.
And so she said, well, this one guy, his decisions are very liberal, so we'd like to get rid of him. So put no. And this other one is questionable. And the other guys kind of leave because if DeSantis, who's our Republican governor, has too many people to replace in a short period of time, he may not get to them all. So they're advising, just let's get rid of the 2 that we know their decisions was more on the liberal end, and let's keep the other guys. So that's what I did. So the bottom line is research your ballot. It's very important. I mean, we all know what we're going to do for president, as we know, and the major things, if you have a Senate race and things like that. But when you get down to the other lower things on the totem pole, they're just as important, aren't they?
Well, every level of government, yes, is important. And we're having a say. And if the duty to vote is a solemn duty, which it is, then it deserves for us to do an hour's worth of homework.
That's right. Yeah. So I was a good student. I did my homework and my ballot's ready. And then once I hand it in, I get I voted little sticker that I can take off of here and stick it on and proudly go around and tell everyone I
like
voted.
that. It's like colorful.
Colorful. That's right. Well, I think we might have some questions from our viewers. So let's see. What's the first question? Father, you want to read that?
Why does the president even bother doing a debate with Biden? They always use liberal commentators. Instead, why not get videos of all Biden's things he believes, put them on a big screen, and Trump debate all the things that Biden said? Yes, well, and the campaign does do things like that. There are, I want to encourage people to make sure if you're on Facebook that you go to Official Team Trump. That's the Facebook page. If you are on Twitter, Instagram, Parler, go to Team Trump. Janet, at Team Trump, they put up a lot of these video clips,
right?
Just like our friend was just suggesting. They show the things Biden said, and then the response,
by the president.
But the president believes that these are opportunities to present directly to the American people when a lot of people will be watching who otherwise might not watch, people from both sides. The president feels this is an opportunity to, once again, get his message in front of them. And, he's not afraid to. He knows when he goes in with these debates, he's really debating two people.
That's right.
Biden plus the moderator.
Yeah. And really, that's the way it was for the other debates, too. I'm sorry. They said, well, Chris Wallace, worked for Fox News. So that was supposed to be a nod to the conservatives. But Chris Wallace is a Democrat. So I don't see how that was, level-handed. And of course, then we know the next, Savannah Guthrie, oh my goodness. For the first 20 minutes, she didn't let not one person at that public forum ask a question. It was all her grilling him and pressing him and grilling him. But he did good. He sat and looked right at her at the camera and delivered. But come on.
I think, this has gotten really out of hand. And I think there's going to have to be some changes.
Yeah.
Next time around, because everybody sees the nonsense that's going on. When you have to start, fooling around with, muting microphones and everything. I know
that's getting.
And maybe this has to be done in. I don't know what the better solution is, but maybe this has to be done. We have so much computer technology now. Give both candidates all the questions in advance,
right?
And then let technology do it,
right? Yeah.
Show the question, and then give yourself a time. Big buzzer goes off.
Right.
Maybe it just got to be done. How do you find neutral people, except maybe a computer?
Well, I did see on the news, that comes across the wire there, that tonight they said people from each campaign are going to be monitoring the muting of the mics. So I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Well, from what I understand, it's not the moderator that's doing the muting. That's going to be in the control room. So I guess someone from each campaign will be sitting there to watch that it's fair across the board, this muting of the mic. So let's see. I think we have another question, Father. Let's see what it is. One of our viewers. Okay, Father, what does that say?
Martin Luther King was such a conservative by today's standards. How did he get sold out to the Democrat Party? Well, as first of all, as Alvita always tells us, on this issue, he would be with us.
He would be 100% with us. Yeah, absolutely.
And no, the Democrat Party has never been a friend of the Black communities. They've been the oppressors. They've been the authors of segregation and whatnot. Yeah. And so, the people in the Black community, they've been, they're waking up. About the Democrats. They're realizing, and one of the factors to that was the documentary Mafa 21 by our friend Mark Crutcher. That woke up a lot of them to how racist and genocidal abortion is.
That's right.
But the Democrat they have deceived a lot of people, making them feel like they're on their side.
Yeah.
But they're not.
No, definitely not. All right. Next question, Father. It said, will the DNC sacrifice Joe Biden to make Kamala president if Joe should win the election? Well, first of all, I really believe, God forbid, I don't think this is going to happen, but if he were to win, I guarantee you gets inaugurated on January 20th. I think by February 20th, his doctors will say, he has dementia and he feels he has to step aside, and boom, she'll step into the.
Well, why is Pelosi fooling around with this 25th Amendment?
Because she knows she's gonna help out. She knows it's like they got it all set up in the pipeline.
Yes,
they're ready to go.
It's so
obvious. So obvious. And we have to remind everyone, I'm sorry, I don't get tired of reminding everyone of Kamala Harris, her deep ties to Planned Parenthood. They funded her campaign. They helped fund her campaign for the Senate. And they got a lot of money that they've thrown into this campaign too, right? Deep ties, deep ties.
Yeah.
So let's see. Next question, Father. Why does the poll say Biden is ahead when we, the people,
can see with our own eyes that he's not?
Uh,
Well, it's because, first of all, remember,
it depends on what poll you're looking at.
there's lots of different polls. But if a poll is being conducted and paid for by the same companies that have spent every day of the last 4 years trying to get Trump out of office, that's reason number one.
Right.
Reason number two is that you got to look at who's being polled.
Right.
If you're taking a poll just of adults across the country, well, remember, Hillary got more of the popular vote, so did Al Gore, but that's not the way we elect presidents. So even if you're just polling adults across the country, first of all, you don't know if they're going to vote. And secondly, if you're just polling, all you're getting is people's thoughts. If we had a national popular vote for president, which we don't, the election is basically determined by the big urban centers,
Right.
where you've got Democrat majorities. Thirdly, in polling, even when they're not trying to be biased, and even when they start targeting, registered voters and whatnot, polls characteristically favor Democrats. And this has to do with internal modeling of the polls, and the polls themselves have a certain representation of Democrats and Republicans in the polling sample, but that doesn't always match what that representation and proportionality is in the actual general public.
Right.
One of the leading polling experts in the country told me not long ago, he said, look, if a Democrat is 6 points ahead in a poll, that basically means the race is even.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, so there's a built-in advantage that Democrats show in polling. Another consideration is, the methodology, and another polling expert told us recently, I think you were on the call as well, that when you look at the methodology that pollsters used in 2016 and that they use now, the fact of the matter is that the dynamics of American politics have changed. President Trump is largely responsible for that change. And the methodologies, you might as well this guy told us you might as well put him in a shoebox and send it to the Smithsonian, because it hasn't changed and it's not tapped into reality.
Right.
The reason it's not tapped into reality, even a good poll, you're going to look not just at registered voters. First of all, you're not going to look just at a poll of adults. You're not going to look at registered voters, because again, a lot of registered voters don't vote.
Right.
If you're trying to determine what the likely outcome is going to be, you've got to look at likely voters. But even polls that ask likely voters are often wrong, as they were in 2016. Why? Because the people who elected President Trump are the unlikely voters.
That's right.
He has tapped into. There were 6 million people that voted for him last time around that had never voted before. Or that hadn't voted in 10 years or more.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's got even more of that support.
Right.
At these rallies, like we saw a few minutes of the rally just at the beginning of this program. At a lot of these rallies, almost half of the people attending aren't even Republicans. But President Trump is tapping into Americans. He's not a politician. So people are finally hearing him and saying, this is the kind of person I've been waiting for decades.
That's right. Well, it is. He doesn't owe any party any favors because no one helped him get there. That's very important, because very often, certain people, they'll help them make it up the political ladder, and then they feel they owe this person and that person. He doesn't owe anybody.
And he's been saying it at the rally. He said, look, I could pick up the phone and call a bunch of my friends on Wall Street and I'd be the best fundraiser of all of them. I'd get
That's right, but he's
tens
not
of
doing
millions,
that.
but he's not doing any of it.
He said
he's not doing it. Why? Because he calls and says, hey, send me $5 million. Oh, sure, sir, I'll send you $5 million. And then 3 months later, that friend calls him.
Right.
Hey, I need a favor. And he says, I want to think, when I have to make my decisions, I don't want to think about how do I have to repay my friend and this person and that person. No, he says, I want to think about one thing. What's the right thing for the American people?
Well, and let's think back, Father, that this time 4 years ago, they were showing Hillary Clinton ahead in the polls.
Oh, they said it's a 95%
and she was so
chance of winning.
sure. She was so sure she was winning. She booked the Javits Center, the big fireworks show. She was all raring to go. In fact, Father, we know for a fact that there were all kinds of people that had already moved into the D.C. area because she promised them jobs. That when she lost, they were going ballistic. They now had leases. They were stuck there with no job.
Now, the final word about the polls, the internal polling is very, very good.
Okay.
You look at the campaign polling, the internal polling. You know, the president is either ahead, surging, equal, or in the margin of error in the key states. You got to look at the key state polling. That's the key.
That's the thing.
Not national polling.
Well, then also, Father, too, haven't they said that the Republicans have registered more voters this cycle?
Well, there's more metrics than the polls.
Right.
Right. There's more metrics to look at than the polls. There's the polls. There's the voter registration, which Republicans have, you know, in a lot of states, Democrats have more registered voters on the rolls than the Republicans do. But the Republicans this time around have closed that gap significantly in a lot of these states. Here in Florida, for example.
That's right.
Voter registration.
And Father, newly registered voters are more energized to vote.
Yeah,
because this is their first presidential election. They're going to do it.
So the Republicans have done much better with registering voters. Early voting, the trends are much stronger for the Republicans than they normally are already, what we see.
Right.
And then finally, the fourth metric is the ground game. Right. The Trump campaign has blown out of the water all records for presidential campaigns in terms of the numbers of volunteers, voters knocked on doors, and phone calls.
Right.
It's absolutely astonishing. So, and the Biden campaign they haven't been knocking on doors.
I just saw, I was a couple of weeks ago on one of the news programs, they were grilling Kamala Harris, and they said, so how come so late? You just started. What, with the door knocking? Doors, yeah. And she goes, no, it's fine. It's fine. You know, why did you do? Well, you know, the coronavirus. We didn't want to have people knocking on doors too soon.
They have made a big mistake.
Big mistake.
They made a big
I know.
mistake.
Let's pause and see if we have another question here. Can a Catholic vote for abortion?
No.
Simple answer. Absolutely.
Right.
Not.
Well, and there are actually church documents that make it very clear, or for decades now, made it very explicitly clear. You cannot vote for a party program or a position or a law that would permit the killing of innocent babies.
That's right.
You can't support. How can you support that? Not just from a Catholic viewpoint, just from a human viewpoint.
That's right.
You're voting for the killing of babies.
And you know what? You know, when you look at the Vice President Biden, he has a 100%, great scorecard as far as the pro-aborts are concerned. He has always voted in favor of abortion. Always. So is that choice not clear? And look at everything that President Trump has done for the unborn since coming into office. Mm-hmm. No president has done more than Donald Trump for the unborn. Not one. Mm-hmm. It's been historic, right, Father?
No, nobody's done more than the president for the unborn. That's right.
Nobody.
Biden has become, you can see how he's become radicalized.
Oh, yeah.
Because now he's like, he even now says, I don't want the Hyde Amendment, which protects our taxpayer. But that was a flip-flop. He used to take certain positions that were, but the point we're making is he has become radicalized now, right? And that ties into the argument the president and many others are making that, what you're seeing in Biden is not Biden. Right. He's just a puppet now of the radical left that controls the Democrat Party. So if a person's going to vote for Biden, don't do so because you think he's more moderate than the left-wing radicals of the party.
He's
because it's the left-wing radicals that are controlling the party.
That's right.
Don't vote for Biden if you don't want to see a President Harris.
Right.
Don't do it because that's what you'll end up getting.
Exactly. And remember that they are in favor of abortion till birth. I mean, they finally have thrown, if you remember, Father, in past elections, we kind of had to really work hard to show the position of the Democratic Party, right? To show how extreme they were.
That's right.
But now they've thrown the cards on the table for us. It's been easier than ever. They come out and say, yes, we feel women has the right to have an abortion up to birth. And in fact, as you know, Nancy Pelosi and her little cohort there of Democrats in the House held hostage in committee the Born Alive bill. They wouldn't even bring it to the floor for a vote. Even though they knew they had enough votes to defeat the bill, they didn't want it on the floor because they didn't want their members on record voting that down, right? Close to the election. Let's see. I think we might have time for another question, Father. Go ahead, read that one.
Should the president make a strong statement tonight in support of the unborn? Absolutely. And I don't. I guess the abortion issue didn't come up in the first debate.
No, and it's not one of the questions.
And it's not one of the questions. However, there's various ways where it can come in. And if he starts taking the offensive in terms of how radical Biden really is, I wouldn't be surprised if he brings it up. Well, remember, he himself. I mean, we'll have to see how the. I mean, he's going to say what he believes is most helpful to say at the moment. But a lot of the pro-life things that he says, Janet, it's his own initiative. Exactly. Remember when Mick Mulvaney was speaking at the Catholic Prayer Breakfast a couple of years ago right after one of the State of the Union addresses. And he said, we brought him the text of the State of the Union speech. And it was a section in there on abortion. And, as he was reading through the speech, he took out his pen and he started writing, in the pro-life section. He expanded it. He put more in there.
Right.
He speaks, and when that third debate from last time around,
I'll never forget
when he talked about that, ripping the baby from the womb.
Yeah, he called out
That
Hillary.
was that was from him. That wasn't something that was in the debate prep.
No.
He, from the heart, said that. So what Walter's saying is, not only is it appropriate, but he will do these things from his own initiative, from his own heart. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, the Lord said.
Well, and look how many times, just even during this campaign, he's mentioned abortion. He's mentioned the unborn.
Yeah.
He's done so much, and just, never before. I mean, you and I worked very hard for the reelection of George W. Bush. We couldn't even get him to say the A word, could we? Back then. I have one more question.
There was a previous question here about the most important thing. Okay, so praying and voting for Trump. Besides that, what's the most important things we can do in the last days to influence the undecided? Well, first of all, the most important things we need to do are get the people who are already thinking the way we do
to the polls.
Right. Talk to them, go through your contacts list on your phone, your email address book, Christmas card list, like you always say, the followers and
voting.
friends
if there's
on your social
voting,
media.
Get there.
Go to get them out, remind them, give them information on the candidates. As far as the undecided, we've got a lot of tools. Like, for example, we put up this TrumpandCatholics.com website, TrumpandCatholics.com. That's good for the undecided, especially if they're Catholic, okay? Because it focuses not on the lies that are being told about the president and his personality. It focuses on the accomplishments.
Exactly.
Secondly, we put up another website called Election Honesty. And electionhonesty.com refutes the most common lies about the president. And for a lot of the undecided voters, that's what's in their head. They say, oh, yeah, I heard of some of these accomplishments, but, why doesn't he condemn white supremacy? Well, he has multiple times. He never hesitated.
I always say asked and answered.
And electionhonesty.com shows where you get those answers. It has actual links to the sources. I think undecided voters, I think this could help them.
And finally, one more thing, Father, to plug. There's still a little time left. Our staff is working hard getting our comparison guide out between the Republican and Democratic Party. This also can help, I think, undecided voters to show how radical the Democratic Party is and how pro-life and conservative the Republican Party is.
That's a good guide.
It's a good guide. It opens eyes up big time. And then finally, I just want to remind people, finally, before we have to go, Father, that what we all need to be doing for this election is pray for our president. And these things, both our comparison piece and this beautiful t-shirt, are available at prolifeproducts.org. Just click on the election tab and we'll get that t-shirt out to you with our comparison pieces. Hey, wouldn't it be awesome, Father, if everyone wore these t-shirts on November 3rd? Wouldn't that be great? We'll all I'm going to wear mine, Father. Pray for President Trump on November 3rd. We're going to be like a rallying cry all around the country.
All around the country. One of the deacons that's watching was saying, how can bishops recent days actually state that Catholics may vote in good conscience for the Democrats? I don't know how they do that.
I don't know how they can.
It's got to be because they're Democrats themselves.
Exactly.
They're speaking out of a political loyalty that, you got to ask, is it ignorance or is it malice? How are they not aware that the Democrats would shut down religious liberty? I mean,
Exactly.
do they have to, do these bishops who say this, or these priests or these deacons, did they forget
They forgot, Father,
about the
HH
Supreme
mandate,
Court,
HHS
about the Little
mandate.
Sisters, about the Diocese of
Right.
Archdiocese of Washington? Was in the case with us.
With us.
All the way to the Supreme Court.
Right.
Diocese of Pittsburgh, all you Pennsylvanians out
Erie,
there, Pittsburgh and Erie, they were in the case.
They were in the
In
case.
fact, the case is called Zubik.
And
The case is named after a bishop.
after the
The
bishop.
main case, this consolidated case. See, the Little Sisters, everybody focuses on the Little Sisters because they say, "Oh, isn't it ridiculous that nuns are being asked to be?" Yeah, okay, fine.
Okay, we
get
got
it.
that. We
get
got
it.
that.
But that sister's case was part of a consolidated case. Okay,
That's right.
With us.
With us.
We were in the Supreme Court before the sisters were, by the way.
Yeah.
Just saying.
We beat them.
But
we were there
but the
first.
point is that doesn't matter. But the point is because the first case that was filed with the Supreme Court was the Diocese of Pittsburgh. Okay, the name of the consolidated case itself is Zubik, the bishop of Pittsburgh. So when we have a bishop named in this Supreme Court case, what is it for? And President Trump is the one who exempted us from this mandate. It's to get away from a mandate that says, we're giving you a choice. Violate your faith, or you're violating the law. That's not America.
No, not at all.
That's not right. And Biden wants to do it again.
Well, Biden has said, quote, Father, he said, on day one, when I'm inaugurated as president, Vice President Biden has said, I, by executive order, will bring back the HHS mandate, which means the Little Sisters, Priests for Life,
Yeah, he said the way
Diocese
it
of
was-
Pittsburgh, Washington, D.C., every Catholic diocese in the nation,
Catholic University of America.
EWTN, I mean, the list goes on and on.
Knights of Columbus.
Knights of Columbus will all get succumbed to the fines again. And we're going to be back in the courts and fighting it again.
I don't understand.
I don't
mean,
get
so
it.
the deacon asks a very good question.
He does.
I really don't understand. How can these guys, some of them, and there's some of them, how can they say this?
I don't
I
know.
mean, where on earth are they coming from? I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they're closing churches, as you know, across the country since the pandemic, left and right, because of finances, right? Well, maybe they feel, okay, well, we're going to be closing anyway, so who cares? I mean, I don't get their attitude.
I know.
really don't.
I mean, and not to mention the killing of babies.
Oh, yeah.
Socialism. Doesn't the church stand against socialism and communism? I mean, what else is it? Go down the list.
Right.
Open borders. Oh, I guess you don't want to have a country. I mean, it's, look, some people ask me, is it a sin to vote Democrat? Before I analyze the question of whether it's sin, I ask the question whether it's sane.
Right.
And my answer to that is, it's not.
That's right. And again, there's no comparison on the issues. And like I said, in the party comparison here, it's just plain as the nose on your face, how radical they are. The Democrats, they want to fund Planned Parenthood, and the Republicans want to stop the funding. The Democrats want to put judges that they want to just think that the Constitution is a breathing document and fluid, and
Which means
No,
just
change
change
it.
it. Yeah.
And the Republicans say no, it's like the founding fathers, true constructionalists. I mean, it just goes right down the line. The Republicans, they want to allow school choice, and so does the president. He's been very clear about school choice.
And so does the church.
So does the church. And the Democrats say they don't want school choice. I mean, Father, in every aspect it is. So, brothers and sisters, you want to get out there? We only got a short time left before this election. ProLifeProducts.org. We send them this to you, by the way, free of charge. And order a Pray for Trump t-shirt on election day. I think we're all going to wear those t-shirts, Father. Maybe even you. Can I get you on the program with a t-shirt? I don't know. Stay tuned and we'll see. So, Father, a quick blessing for our group
All right.
before
Well,
we
may the
leave.
Lord bless and protect you and answer all your prayers and give you his grace in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
And you're going to want to tune in tomorrow because you're concerned about the polls. I have Dr. Michael New as my guest tomorrow, and he's going to unpack the polls, and he's a poll expert. So tune in tomorrow. And for now, this is Janet Morena from Just Ask Janet. Thanks for coming.